Have you noticed all the violence and hate that comes from the left? All the anti-Semitism, and we've talked about this many, many times before, that comes from the left. I mean, I'm looking at this Jerusalem Post piece. Farrakhan, Nation of Islam leader, says his comments on Jews are meant to pull the cover off of Satan, and Zionists dominate the U.S. government and banks. Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan said Jews and Zionists are, quote, trying to push the U.S. into war, unquote, and are a cover for Satan at the group's annual meeting near Chicago. President Obama, he said, if you allow the Zionists to push you to mount a military offensive against Gaddafi, and you go in and kill him and his sons as you did with Saddam Hussein and his sons, I'm warning you, this is a Libya problem, and let the Libyans solve their problem among themselves. Farrakhan called Gaddafi my brother and my friend. Well, is not Gaddafi slaughtering Muslims? He also accused American Zionists of attempting to push Israel into war with Iran, adding that Zionists dominate the government of the United States of America and her banking system. This is old-time Nazi rhetoric here. One panel at the conference titled The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews claimed that Jews were disproportionately involved in the slave trade and accused them of controlling the media. Gee, how'd I miss that conference? Some of you think that I'm just somebody who's got something out for the Jewish people, Farrakhan said. You're stupid. Do you think I would waste my time if I did not think it was important for you to know Satan? My job is to pull the cover off of Satan so that he will never deceive you and the people of the world again. Perfect. A perfect Nazi. Now, folks, there are many, many Democrat politicians and so-called civil rights leaders who have marched with this man, who have stood by this man. I can remember when the former governor of Pennsylvania, Ed Rendell, stood by this man. I can remember that Barack Obama's own preacher stood by this man. Jesse Jackson, Al Not-So-Sharpton, they have stood with this man. The NAACP has stood with this man. Has anybody heard any one of them, any of the politicians or civil rights groups or civil rights leaders, as they like to call themselves, speak out against what this nutjob said? No, and they're not gonna. Anyone ask the president to comment on this? No, and they're not going to. Has the president, since this is in a newspaper, and I know the White House collects clips from domestic and foreign news outlets, so they have it, will the president himself speak out against this? Will David Gregory on Meet the Depressed on Sunday talk about violent rhetoric? No, ain't going to happen. This guy can say whatever he wants, and he's not going to be called on it by the left, or the Democrat Party, or the civil rights types, or the NAACP, or anyone on the left. They're scared of him. And they believe also they need him politically. Nobody's a bigger hater than this man. Nobody. I haven't even heard this on the ABC radio news or other news stations. Have you? At least not during my show. Perhaps at other times during the day. But this is the leader of the Nation of Islam in America, making these poisonous, vile statements. A man who has enormous political influence in Chicago, in the United States, with all kinds of leaders of the Democrat Party and the left wing. I wonder if Politico, Mr. Vogel over there, or any of the other lightweights, I wonder if they're going to start calling around to take comments now that I'm prodding them and find out what people have to say about Farrakhan who have worked with him and supported him, and he them. I wonder if the White House will be asked for an official statement. I wonder. Will they or not? What do you think? See, they have to fabricate instances of racism and so forth in the conservative movement, in the Tea Party movement. But in the left, they're all out there, right, to see, with the signs and the speeches and the hate. They're almost proud of it. They get in front of the microphones, in front of the cameras. Very aggressive, very violent, very hateful. For us, they got to try and set people up. I swear that guy spit on me. What guy? Somebody said the N-word. All the cameras are rolling. Nobody can hear it. Nobody can see it. Who? I don't know. Somebody. Here we have a man attacking Jews by name, repeatedly, using the old Nazi lies. And I'm not seeing it reported other than in a Jerusalem Post article. It is just amazing to me what has happened in the media in this country, how disgusting they've become. They don't mind Farrakhan. He doesn't bother them. They hate Sarah Palin. They hate Michelle Bachmann. They hate Dick Cheney. They hate George Bush. And I can go right down the list. But Farrakhan, don't worry about it. Well, he says these things, you know. Disgrace. Whole damn bunch of phony libs out there, phony media. Farrakhan. Now, while I'm on this broad subject, in Reuters, Taliban militants shot dead Pakistan's only Christian government minister for challenging a law that mandates the death penalty for insulting Islam, the latest sign of instability in a country where many fear radical Islam is becoming more mainstream. Is not Pakistan a form of democracy? Weren't they blessed with the democracy movement? These killings, along with frequent militant attacks and chronic economic problems, have raised fears for the future of U.S. ally and nuclear-armed Pakistan. Oh, I remember when we hated Musharraf. Remember? Oh, we gotta hate him. Extremely loyal ally. I mean, he had to play some games to keep his nut jobs under tow. But I guess we would just rather see Islamists, jihadis, terrorists elected in order to prove that the democracy project is a success. I guess that's what's going on. I mean, I don't know. It's mindless. Idiotic, as a matter of fact. The neoliberals don't even make any sense. And yet here we have the murder of a Christian minister. Oh, well, no more Christian ministers in the Pakistani government. They're all gone. Can't wait to see what Egypt turns out to be. No doubt a democracy. I want to hit one other thing on this budget issue that I meant to hit before, and I've actually stressed it before, but I can't stress it enough. Please, you Republican leaders, you have the upper hand on this budget stuff. Don't be weak. Please, try and be real leaders. We need your help. You need to understand something. We're talking about $4 billion in 2 weeks, and you're all worked up in excitement and a great lather. We have a $1.65 trillion deficit this year. $4 billion. You ever get a big entree and they have a little piece of parsley on the top and you throw it away? Well, that's what we're talking about. This is a little piece of parsley. Well, Mark, it's $4 billion. Folks, I know it's $4 billion. We're talking $1.65 trillion. Let me put it to you this way. Nobody has proposed a plan for addressing our debt. What we're talking about each and every day is trying to reduce the level of the yearly deficit. And they're fighting us on that ground. In other words, we're fighting them on their ground. We're not even talking about paying back any of the debt or paying off any of it. We're trying to limit its growth, which is massive. If we were actually able to cut $100 billion out of this budget this year, the deficit would still be $1.56 trillion. You get my point? It wouldn't even be a 10% cut in this year's deficit. It would be a fraction of the debt being the collection of all deficits over the years. So what is it that we're talking about? We need to throw down the gauntlet. We need to take charge. We need to drive this agenda and go down fighting if we're going to go down. We can't be a willing partner in what this left-winger and his supporters are doing to this country. We just can't. And here's the deal, Republican. The American people are with you. If you can just explain it to them. Drop the stupid talking points. Just explain it. As if you're having a conversation over the dinner table. What this means to children and grandchildren. How minuscule the cuts are that you're even proposing. And that the president is so driven by ideology. He's so stubborn that even minuscule reforms and cuts are unacceptable to him. Explain it to the American people. They are yearning for leadership. They are yearning for a leader. They're looking around and they don't see one yet, to be perfectly honest. The American people are prepared. Forget the polls, forget the surveys. If the last election showed you anything, it's that the American people are ahead of you. And we want action, and yes, we want it right now. Obama says no more with the 2-week continuing resolutions. The arrogance of this man who has sat on his hands
for half of a budget year, who proposes not a damn thing, who sits back and gives out orders, who's destroying this nation, he's not going to accept a 2-week more extension? Good. Then take this. Cut it the way we say, or give us a call when you're ready.
The American people are with you, Republicans. But we're really desperately looking for a leader. Who's it going to be? We'll be right back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the president is busy, so I do need to correct my comments from yesterday and today. I have this from the Associated Press. Obama is to award the National Medal of Arts and the National Humanities Medal to 20 people today, the White House East Room. Among the 10 being given the National Medal of Arts are pianist Van Cliburn, Quincy Jones, Sonny Rollins, James Taylor, author Harper Lee, actress Meryl Streep. National Humanities Medals, Jacques Barzun, Gordon Wood, authors Joyce Carol Oates, Philip Roth. First Lady will take part in the ceremony. I wonder what kind of food they're going to serve. She doesn't feed anybody anything that's under at least 2,900 calories. Wonder if they'll give them some of that leftover coconut ice cream with the chocolate shell. Just wondering. We'll be right back.